any of you ever taken a trip out to the forest, lake, mountain, or outdoors and went trail hiking or bike riding and decided to go off the trail? Or the real question is, why would one go off the trail? Maybe because they want a more exciting adventure, or they're curious to see check out what's over there, or even they were trying to take a shortcut. Well, I did go off the trail, and the reason for it was because I was lazy. I thought taking this quicker route would be an easier way back. Well, in the end, it wasn't worth it at all. On my journey, I was able to experience 3 types of terrain, high anxiety and frustration, and then even putting myself in a bit amount of danger. After going through this, I learned a very valuable lesson. So first, let's tell you where I was at. I was at this place called Hag Lake, outside of Portland, Oregon, and I went there with my stepdad, stepbrother, and my cousin was visiting at the time. And we decided to go up there to go bike riding. We got those new bikes. And so we're going down the trail. The trail goes all the way around the lake. We get probably like halfway around the lake, and it's like a really cool little secluded beach area. And we decided my stepdad and I decided to go back. They decided they're going to keep going. They're like outdoorsy people. They like to, they're going all the way. We couldn't do any more tired. So we're looking at we can see across the lake, we see the parking lot. Like, why don't we just follow he said, I'm blaming him. Why don't we just follow the shoreline back, rather than taking the hilly trail back? And all right, so we're going to push our bikes too. So we're following the shoreline back, and so we start off with the sand, and then the sand turns into like this tall grass. Tall grass turns into kind of mucky. We're going over these little banks and stuff. Then eventually, after going over this tall bank, we see this huge mass of it seemed like a whole other lake of mud. It was like mud. And we did not see this from where we were at. If we had saw this, we would have never gone there in the first place. So now we're going through this mud and trying to jump from rock to rock, and I'm trying to stay out of it. We're pushing our bikes the whole time too. And eventually we just fall in, and now we're like, forget it, all right, we're just pushing through it. So we're trekking through the mud, and then we go through that for quite a while. And eventually we hit this wall of, I don't know, just this big wall of just like trees on one side, and then there's this cliff kind of thing that's between us and the parking lot. So we gotta go through over the cliff, because we can't go through the trees. We don't have like a machete to cut through it, so we have to go through over the cliff. And we're pushing this bike up the hill, this cliff. It's kind of like up and then flattens out and then down. And then we have to duck down because all this like brush going over it. So I'm pushing the bike and trying to balance on it. I'm flipping over the edge, and I'm like sliding. It's kind of like loose, and the rocks are like trickling down. You hear splashes of water. I'm thinking I'll grab next. And so I'm trying to get through it. And eventually we do. And I don't know. It felt like I nearly almost fell, and that freaked me out. But so eventually we got back to the parking lot. My stepbrother and cousin were there. They're sitting there, just enjoying their time. Like, oh, where you guys been? Like, we're covered in mud. We're exhausted, like barely standing. And so during this, like mentally and physically, I was exhausted in the first place. I had to push myself and get through this. Push myself hard. Secondly, I risked my my life. It was like 25 feet. I probably would have died, but that cliff, pretty dangerous what we did. And then secondly, mentally, I was fearful throughout the whole time. If I ever get back, what's going to happen to us out here? And then I was also pretty frustrated and upset. Should have never done this in the first place. It's all your fault that we're out here. I don't even want to come today, and all this stuff, And then I was cold, wet, muddy, thirsty, hungry, tired. And afterwards, obviously physically my appearance, I was completely just, completely drenched, soaked in mud, and my body ached, shoes were ruined, but my bike was okay. So that was a good thing, I guess. And my mind state was I was extremely relieved, made it back, and I was pretty prepared. So the lesson I learned the hard way was, I know now not to go off the trail, because like looks can be deceiving. If I thought I could see ahead, I really had no idea where we were going, and that could be really dangerous. So now I'm not only putting myself at risk, but putting others at risk as well, whoever we're all together. And also, if we did get lost out there, get stuck out there, others will come looking for us, and they can see them at risk. They might get lost and hurt doing that, trying to find us. So, as you can see, taking the chance of making my own path with the guided trail has many negative factors. It may seem like a fun or easier route, but quickly turn into a disaster. If it be from getting lost or having to trek through all sorts of terrain, like in my case, seeing where I needed to go, not knowing what lied ahead, stupid idea, I learned to stick to the trail. They're there for simple reasons. One, you're not going to get as lost as easy. two are not going to lead you to the edge of a cliff, hanging on, really making it by. And three, finally, it's like your mind and body aren't going to be thrown into the ringer, trying to stick to the path. So most of the time. And in the end, I had only wished I had taken that so-called shortcut in the first place. Luckily, no one was injured or hurt. I made it back okay. The best thing I got out of this was kind of a funny story to tell others, and a hard-earned lesson I'll keep with me the rest of my life.